Hello everyone, I'm NGC, and today's video, I'm going to be ranking every episode of The Simpsons Season 2. Now I do want to apologize for this video being delayed 3 months. I know that is quite a while, but I've just been very busy with video projects lately. Like I'm trying to get the Christmas special for you guys along with other projects I'm trying to do before the end of the year. But I promise you the season 3 video will not take as long as this one. I feel like maybe because this season had more episodes than the last one. While it's not as good, it did have its good episodes. But anyway, let's move on to this video. Now, let's begin. So, I don't think this episode's bad. Like, Itchy and Scratchy and March is not a bad episode. Just out of all the episodes in the season, it's just not as good. Like, Marge is sick of all the violence in the show, so she goes on, like, an outrage with other citizens. However, at the end, they finally agree to a truce and make it less violent. But at the end, they just go back to it so they can get their fans back, and Marge just accepts it. Aside from Marge and the citizens, the episode was alright. Now, Lisa's substitute. Now, I expected a Lisa episode to be the worst out of all of them, but hey, no. Actually, not for once, but still, like, I don't hate Lisa as a character, just want to clarify, just not as good as characters like Homer and Bart. Still, this episode was still unique. Like, it tells us sad of seeing characters like you love go. And for a person who did, experience this before, I can feel Lisa. Who knows, maybe we'll see her substitute teacher in a future episode. I also really like the substitute teacher in this video, as well as the one with the other episode. Now, Treehouse of Horror. I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, but I don't really like this episode. Like, it's not bad, but just not as good as all the others. And the Treehouse of Horror series is off to a bad start, and I really want this to be good. So it has in moments with, like, Homer and Bob being really hilarious, and the multiple stories. Like, I'm glad it has multiple stories, because if it was just one and it sucked, then the whole episode sucked. But the main issue I have with this episode is that they literally omit the plot holes. Alright, Lisa versus the A Commandment, I think. I don't really know. But honestly, I just forgot most of this episode. Like, this is probably the most forgettable episode out of season 2. Like, it just, like, kind of just bored me. Like, Lisa was kind of good in this episode. And it was just a generic episode, gonna be honest. Alright, Brush with Greatness. There was a lot of funny moments. The beginning with all the everyone was good. Like, the scenes with Burns, Smith, and Homer, they were really funny. Lisa was alright in this episode, but that's really about it. Like, it wasn't too bad or too good. It's just a plain old alright Simpsons episode. Bart's dog gets an F. Ignoring the fact that this episode is not as good as the other Bart F episode, still, I really enjoyed this episode. Like, but the moments with Bart and his dog were good. The actual dog competition was good, and the ending was pretty alright. But the rest of the episode was just alright. Now, Blood Feud. This was the final Simpsons episode of season 2, and it was alright. Like, don't get me wrong, the whole idea of this episode was good, and the scenes with Bart, Homer, and like Burns were really good. I liked how we saw a lot more of Burns this season. That was really funny, and I wish we saw a bit more since he's just a really funny character. But the whole episode was alright. Like, Homer was funny, though he kind of dragged the whole joke of like Burns not giving Bart the money he deserved for donating to help Burns from dying. Like, that kind of got old a lot in this episode. Like, I don't hate Homer for that, but the joke just got older first. Here's what I hate about jokes being repeated. Like, if it was once, I'd find it funny. But if it was repeated a lot, then I wouldn't hate it. But this episode was still pretty decent. Now, Bart gets hit by a car. This episode was the best part of this season, but it was alright, I guess. I mean, the scenes with Bart in heaven were good, as well as, like, the scenes where he tells everyone, like, that was good. And the plot was very interesting, gotta admit, but the rest of the episode was alright. Dancing Homer. This should have been an episode where I found funny, because it's a episode revolving around Homer, and I really love when he dances, but it was alright. Like, don't get me wrong. half of the scenes with him dancing were good, but by the second half of this episode, the joke already got old, but it was still pretty decent. Now, I expected Bart the Daredevil to be an alright episode, but it surprised me being a pretty good episode. And while it's not as good as other episodes, I still enjoyed this episode. Like, there was a lot of funny stuff to this episode. I already like Bart's character with the whole skateboard tricks and jokes he has, and making a whole episode about Bart and a skateboard was a good idea, and it didn't really disappoint me. Now, what with the Simpsons? The best part of this episode has got to be Homer. He was so funny in this episode. Like, he was actually that funny. Like, there was so many funny moments with Homer at that beginning where he's being drunk, and the ending where he, like, is with his fish. However, one of the issues I have with this episode is that it's a marriage episode, and I don't like marriage episodes. I guess Mel, but The Simpsons did it all right. Like, this episode was funny. Now, 2 cars in very garage and 3 eyes in every fish. Damn, that's a wrong title book. Knowing that, the episode itself was pretty good. The whole feud with Burns and like Bart was good, and the beginning with Bart finding the 3-eyed fish was pretty good, but the episode just turned into a generic episode. Now, Bart versus Thanksgiving. Honestly, if I replaced Bart versus Thanksgiving with the other episode, the last episode on this list, I wouldn't really complain since I don't really know how to rate these episodes, but this one was better. I like the new characters they introduced, and Bart and Lisa were pretty good. Now, Simpson and I think, I don't really know, but the episode was pretty good. This is one of the times where Homer was actually smart. And while I would stick to stupid Homer, since when Homer being himself was very classic, I still didn't mind the episode. All of his smart moments were good, and every time Burns and the others are shocked at Homer being smart was pretty good. And as well as the rest of the episode being alright. Now, Dead Porn Society. It had a pretty good idea. The whole bed with him and him and Ned was really good. The end was really funny where they both had to do the dare, and I was actually wondering which one would do it, and I'm glad the creators decided to solve it without anyone arguing, as well as the rest of the episode being good. Now, 3 Men and a Comic Man. I actually found this episode pretty enjoyable. The scenes with Bart, Milhouse, and Nelson, I think? No, not Nelson. I don't really know the name of this kid, but the scenes with them three with the comic was pretty good. The scene where Marge wanted them to eat cookies actually got a laugh out of me. I'm not gonna lie, I bounced out of my bed after hearing that. It was actually pretty good, I'm gonna admit. And it was a unique episode, but the rest of the episode kind of dragged on with Bart trying to get the comic book. Now, Oh Berto, Where Are You? Now, this one was actually good. Now, remember how I said that, Bart gets hit by a car at the best part? Can we just forget about that for a moment? I think this one had the best part of the season. Homer's brother was good, and I like the fact he's really voiced by Brad Dourif. You know, the voice actor Chucky. That was actually pretty good. Even though I did not like that garbage ending, still, the rest of the episode was pretty good, and it has a really unique plot. Now, 1 fish, 2 fish, bullfish, bluefish. Yes, this episode was really good and made it to the top 5. The whole plot was really good, where Homer was, had, a date to live, and then at the end, he survived. I knew Homer was gonna die, but still, it reminded me of that SpongeBob episode where, SpongeBob was gonna die, but he didn't actually. Now, Old Money. I actually enjoyed this episode. Not a lot of people would like this episode, but I really enjoyed it. And you are probably going to disagree with me with number 1, but I really enjoyed this episode. Grandpa was really good. Homer with his scenes with Grandpa were good. And this whole episode was really good. It was really unique of trying to change the world for itself when Grandpa got in love, but his bride died. That scene actually hit me. Now, The Way We Was. This was a really enjoyable episode. This backstory episode was really good. Nothing can compare to this episode. The Way We Was. This was actually really enjoyable. I wanted this to be number 1, but if we didn't have that film moment at the school, I would have gave this at number 1 spot. Still, the whole backstory was really good, so was the rest of the episode in the whole backstory. It was really enjoyable. Now, Bart gets an F. Yes, I really enjoyed this episode. Like, it was so close, but no, I decided to just put number 2. Still, Bart was really funny in this episode, and the scene where he promised God for more time and the snow day, and then making his promise by studying for the whole snow day was actually really cool. And the scene where, like, all of the others were watching Bart studying was actually really enjoyable. Also, the scenes with him and his teacher were good at the end and beginning, as well as the rest of the episode was pretty good. But there's just one more episode left. Yes, Prince Charming is my favorite episode of the season. I know a lot of people would disagree with me, but I actually enjoyed this episode. Like, this is a different episode compared to others, which I wish SML would do, but, like, I really enjoyed this episode. Like, the whole plot was good. The principal was really good, and I like how he actually was joined with Bart after, like, hanging out with his aunt, but the ending where he got broken up actually hit me, and the ending was very good. So this episode is easily the best episode. So yes, I know a lot of people won't agree with me, but I just think Prince Charming is the best episode of season 2 due to its plot, its powerful ending, and as well as all the characters being enjoyable. I mean, obviously. But anyway, that's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys for season 3.